Outdoor Retailer Show 2023.
Wonder what we're gonna find.
Hopefully it's something good.
Hey everybody, this is Derek, and with me today is the only man who still goes legendary lightweight by plucking out his own thick armpit hair and using it as floss in his teeth on the trail. Carl Mandrioli. He has arrived.
Floss again. Thank you, Derek. With me today is Derek Somerville. He's a man who was recently fired from an orange juice factory because he just couldn't concentrate.
Wow. But I'm not from concentrate, so that's probably why. Wah, wah. Wah, wah.
Way to double down on that one.
Double down. That's all I got. That's all I got.
All right. So Outdoor Retailer Show.
This is where it happens.
What'd you think of it? Did you like it?
I mean, it's complete madness, and it's always like a cornucopia of like items, responses.
Yeah.
People not really repping their product correctly when they could. So I'm, you get a little bit of everything over there. It's good.
Derek's just making this up. He didn't go to the Outdoor Retailer Show.
Also, but it's the same every year. It's like people don't know how to have fun when they're being interviewed either. I mean,
no, they're repping their product is what they're doing, and so
gotta be serious.
Well, we had some fun for sure. We had some fun interviews and we had some fun stories and reactions. But I did have to bring in Tupperware Mike and Mike's wife Jen Deanna to help out with this one. So there's some different voices on this episode. We've got some on our Patreon, like our bonus episode for July. And then we're gonna do like a round 2 later on with some more companies. There's a lot of interviews we conducted. So
love it.
A lot.
Love it. On the scale of 1 to 10, though, like how overall, because I know you could go interview by interview. Like how overall, like how difficult was it to make it fun? Like a 10 being amazing.
I just had fun talking to the people. Like, you sound pretty high maintenance.
Like I'm high maintenance. Like how I know you had fun, but how much was it hard to get them to have a little fun? Was it to loosen them up to get them to talk more though? Because in the past there were some people that were just like by the book.
There's definitely some people that were like we're joking around and they're just like but it's almost like they have to get out the information. They can't process the joke. That definitely happens for sure. There's also, it's like they're on the spot interviews. I'm not preparing for them. I'm like, oh, we should talk to this company. And then here we go. But we had I mean, if you listen to interviews, like we had a good time. And we even had one guy who was like pushing back on my nonsense. He's like, I'm not taking this stuff from you. And so we had a lot of fun with him.
It's good.
But I will say, to your point though, there was like, not on this episode, but on a future episode, there was one person who was like, she was a great personality. She was a lot of fun, but her boss like escorted her to the interview. And then we only had one microphone for her. And then he was like wanting to chime in. It was a little bit socially awkward, if I'm being honest.
Okay.
And it was like, and she was still fun, like while her boss is there, but I was like, I don't know. You could tell he was like the boss. He's like, afterwards, he's like, hey, I would like you to send me a recording of this before you publish. I was like, oh, wow. Okay. You're the only person ever to ask that. And you were literally here witnessing what we talked about. What's the issue here? And he's like, just send it to me. I was like, okay.
Did you do it?
Well, it's going to be for later episodes. We haven't edited that part yet.
Okay.
What do you think? Should I do it? Should I do it?
I mean, you're repping yourself too. So it's, you don't want our name to go out there bad. Like, so yeah, I would probably do it. It's
Right.
kind of,
I don't want to say who it was, but it was Honey Stinger. So there you go.
Wow. Right.
I like their stuff. And I liked the lady that we interviewed. And so you'll hear from her. And they were handing out, they had some, like, how like you go to conferences and they have like the freebies. So I was grabbing like handfuls. I'm like, oh, these are for free, like the whole box. And I was just like grabbing stuff. Yeah. I was that guy.
You'd bring a duffel bag for all the freebies or what?
I had a backpack.
I bet you did.
Anyway, that's more to come, but that's a good question. So I'm really hoping though that you'll make the next show. I'm going to do everything in my power to do it because I think you're going to
When is it? What month is it?
It's not for a while. It's like next summer. So you got time to mentally prepare, to figure out how to make these awesome interviews. One of
these years, we're just going to crush it. We're just going to go just everybody we can get. I mean, if you and me used to go door to door and ask for people for their technology items, right? So that was a hoot. Yeah. So I can only imagine going back and forth with these.
That's not related to what we're talking about, but
we're interviewing people to get information.
We are. And so so I don't know if you care, but
No, I don't.
I brought all the podcasting gear, like the big microphones, everything. I wanted the best audio. You can still kind of hear the buzz in the background.
Yeah.
But we brought the gear, and I was like, I put it in one of my backpacks. So I'm carrying it around with me until we find companies that we interview, right? And so we set up at this table, and we had one of the show coordinators come over and be like, "Hey, that's cool that you guys brought all this gear, but we'll just give you like your whole area next time. So we'll be more official." Yeah.
So okay.
Yeah.
So that's okay. You're going big time then. So
no.
But you didn't have to pay. Did you have to pay for that?
No, it's like to their benefit. They want the media.
Yeah.
there.
Okay. They want the media. Okay.
Right.
So that's good.
Yeah. It's mutually beneficial. Anyway, that's all the behind the scenes stuff. Nobody cares about this stuff, Derek. You're getting to be down a rabbit hole. Nobody cares about.
All right. Let's go.
All right. Okay. Bible verse Psalm 147:16. He gives to the earth snow like a blanket of wool. He scatters the frost like ashes. Do you still have a favorite blanket or like a story about your favorite blanket?
I do. I don't have it still. No. I used to have a blanket. Yes. Growing up when I was little, I think I stopped at what, like 25, something like that.
Like you don't use blankets anymore.
None. No, I had like the blankie. I used to suck my thumb, the whole thing.
Call it the blankie.
The blankie. I mean, it was awesome. I took it everywhere with me. Yeah. It's my little comforter,
I think you still have it.
Probably.
Right.
You'll never know.
One of the blankets we're talking about here is one of the companies is a quilt maker, and so that's the connection there. So we got that company actually coming up right away. I did interview some females. We had Jen on the show. I don't know that they made this cut of the episode, but it was hard to get the female voices on the show. Just full disclosure. There were times when I was like, "Hey, can I interview you?" I already mentioned the boss, like escort. And then also there was one who's like, "Oh yeah, you can interview us. Let me go get this guy over here." And I was like, "No, I want, like you sound
like I want you."
Yeah.
You used to.
So it was hard, but I tried.
So bad communication on your part. Nice.
Probably. Well, that's why you need to be there, right? So
that's true. Not about like, no. I'm the guy that's gonna be like, no. You come back here. We're gonna interview you. I'll say the awkward thing, and I'll like it.
All right. First up is Enlightened Equipment. I was super excited. We talked to their CEO. Here we go. Yeah. Okay, we've got Chris Shabo, the CEO of Enlightened Equipment. How's it going today, sir?
It's going pretty good, man. It's going great.
We are honored to have you on the show. Both of us, Mike and I, are customers of your products. And
awesome.
I think you've made your way into the backpacking industry so much. Like, I think most people are very aware of your products. Is that fair to say?
I mean, in the right spaces for sure. I mean, it's pretty wild. Southeast Minnesota, hardly anybody knows what we even do in our little shop in town, and then we come out to the trail days events and things like that, and we're kind of kings out there. It's wild.
Okay, so entry point into Enlightened Equipment, I think for a lot of people are the quilts. Like my first purchase was like a custom quilt that I bought for my daughter, trying to, get the right colors and the size and all that. So, but I think that still like the majority of the folks that backpack are still going with the sleeping bag. So what would you say to somebody, like how do you convince people to say, you know what, it's time to move on from the sleeping bag, try a quilt?
Yeah, I mean, it can be a tough sale, because the sleeping bag industry has been so established for such a long time. It is kind of the initial thing when people think that they need to go backpacking, they go to the store, they buy a sleeping bag. There's not a lot of quilt options that are available at just a retail establishment, so they a lot of times aren't even aware that the product exists. So a lot of times we spend half our time just kind of giving the what is a quilt spiel, like they don't really understand, why you would want to omit the back of a sleeping bag or why you would want to lay directly on the pad. So education and awareness is a big part of what we have to do to try to kind of get customers to be thinking that quilt is the right answer. But oftentimes I think that the best salesman is our current users. It's people on the trail that are already using it. There's really not much that Enlightened Equipment as a brand can say that our customers haven't said already. And so I think it's just a matter of like getting them in the pipeline, like letting them know that there's an option that we believe is better for backpacking. And then just letting them kind of go down that rabbit trail and talk to their friends and find YouTubes and Reddit and reviews and things like that. And oftentimes I think that's enough to get them to kind of push them over the edge.
Okay. So basically you're saying like your product is speaking for itself. You're not pumping it up where it needs to be.
Yeah, like I know like we hype up our own products. Like we have a whole staff of believers in our products. We're all users. I've been running a quilt, like a DIY quilt, since back in like 2013. I've slowly transitioned all my DIY hack job gear over to Enlightened Equipment stuff. But yeah, I think like it's such a good product that people, if they just try it, if they give it a chance, almost almost nine times out of 10, they're just like, wow, I can't believe I've been missing this whole time.
Okay, so I gotta ask, if you look at the materials that your quilt's using, like whether it's the downfill or whatever, and you compare that to a sleeping bag, typically the quilt is taking a lot less material, and then you're like, you don't have a zipper.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we have a few options. They kind of range from no zipper, like an Enigma is our sewn foot box version, that it is as simple as it gets. The only hardware that's on there is the hardware to attach it to the pad. Then from there, it kind of progressively gets a little bit more featured. Our Revelation is our most popular, but it does have a couple features. You can cinch the foot box closed or open. There's a 20-inch zipper that allows you to, unzip partially or all the way. Then you can lay the quilt totally flat. And from there, we do have options that allow for full zip. We call them hybrid quilts, but they allow you to treat them like a bag with full zip. Or they have all of the same quilt hardware that allows you to use them like a quilt.
Okay.
But yeah, it's kind of a less is more kind of scenario.
No, for sure. And obviously you're shaving weight with a lot of those options. But the Revelation specifically, so it's a simplified sleep system, which is taking less material. So, but I mean these can get a little pricey. So if you compare it to like a sleeping bag counterpart, why would it cost more for the quilt than for like a downfilled sleeping bag?
Sure. Primarily I think we have a U.S. production force.
Okay.
All of our custom quilts are made in Southeast Minnesota. So we pay great wages to our sewing team. We want them to stay. We need them to stay. It takes a long time to train somebody to sew on these high performance fabrics. They're ultra light. Right. All of our machines are just so precise and so tuned that we can't afford turnover. So we do have high labor costs with our products. And yeah, they do cost more than a sleeping bag. But a lot of sleeping bags aren't using quite the same premium materials we are. You see a lot of 650 fill power, 750 fill power sleeping bags, a lot of 30D, sleeping bags. We're using super high performance taffetas, 100% nylons, little micro ripstops that have been years in development for fabrics. We use 850 fill power as our base fill power. You can upgrade to 950 fill power, which is basically, there is essentially nothing better than that.
Right.
And so yeah, they cost a little bit more, but compared to some other more cottage kind of industries that make sleeping bags, I will not name names, we are very competitive.
Okay.
And I think that value is actually at the cornerstone of some of our business fundamentals.
Okay.
And the durability is there. We regularly talk to customers that have put 7,000, 10,000 miles on a quilt from 2015, and it's still just doing great for them.
Right.
So to buy once, cry once,
Okay, so what would it take you to transition from a sleeping bag to a quilt?
Money. A lot of money. Heater in the tent.
He didn't sell you on this. He didn't like it.
I'm just not a quilt guy.
Okay.
I keep going back to look. I mean, I'm on my air mattress. Mm-hmm. Maybe do I have to bring in like an extra sheet? Am I like, people don't even bring their sleeping bags for this stuff. Like, I just keep thinking like every time I move a little updraft, the cold air is just gonna whoosh under there and make me. And another thing is with the quilt. I know this is a little high maintenance, little whatever, but I can, in my sleeping bag, I can like wrap the feet at the end of the sleeping bag, bundle them up, get them in there cozy. It's great. I can't explain it. I can't really do that. I can't really do that with the quilt.
The full quilt you can't, but the Enlightened Equipment ones you can. They have like the foot box, so you could actually do that with
well, maybe with the foot box, but I don't know. I still feel like I want to be wrapped up. That's the whole idea. Maybe I'm just too used to the sleeping bag, but
another negative on the quilt is that if you have had like a lot of chili mac with beef and you're just gassing up the tent and you're sharing a tent, it's not containing the smell like a sleeping bag would, right?
And for me, like, you don't even need to have chili mac with beef, and I'm struggling with that anyway. So that'd be horrible for us.
Okay, yeah.
I
want to have a longer conversation with him. He was like the hardest interview to he was like so popular. People were constantly stopping by. And so I want to have a longer conversation.
Would you ever switch in over to quilt or no?
Oh yeah.
You think so?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Maybe
I need to try.
They'll send me one. I don't know. We'll find out.
I doubt it, but if they do, maybe we could switch one night.
Okay. We'll try.
I would be up for that. I'll be up for trying it. I will try it. I'm not going to aqua clip like you and hate it from the get go. So
No, I tried it, and like
But you didn't
you
even
think
do it
that
right.
if I try something and hate it, that's not appropriate.
If you don't do the aqua clip right the first time, of course you'll hate it. You got to do it right.
No scenario with the aqua clip is good, and ever since I've been repping that it's a terrible piece of gear, nobody, not a single person, has pushed back on it. So I think that there's a lot of agreement.
I don't even know if you could do a quilt right, so we'll have to work on
You're probably
that.
right about that, actually. Okay. All right. Next up, we've got a new freeze-dried food company called Wild Society.
Yes. Yes.
We're here with Jeff Edwards from Wild Society. How's it going today, sir?
It's really good. How are you, Carl?
It's great. An honor to have you on the show. We got more freeze-dried food. We love freeze-dried food, especially at the end of a long day of backpacking the trail. So what makes your company different from the other ones out there?
Well, great question. There's a couple of answers to that, but I would say the first and foremost, which is the most important, is our food tastes better.
Okay.
And I think that is, everything else is sort of tertiary to that. And so with taste better, I want to quantify that. So what we do is we have a lodge in Montana. And at that lodge, I have an executive chef. And that executive chef has designed all of our meals. We cook them as a complete meal and freeze dry them. That probably sounds novel, but actually it doesn't sound novel, but it is, pardon me. It's novel in the fact that most of our competitors are doing what's called a drop. So they're dropping flavor powders, instant noodles, a protein, and the first time your freeze-dried food meets each other is when you add hot water and wait 10 minutes. Right. It does not give it a big chance to really develop a nice bouquet of flavor. So what we're doing is we're using top-end ingredients, no instant noodles. We're using primal cuts off of regenerative ranching, so grass-fed beef, and really high-quality ingredients prepared by a chef, freeze-dried, and bagged. So I would say that's the difference. First and foremost is the taste is better. Our sodium's lower, our protein counts are much higher, and they are high calorie, which is what they're designed to do. So when you're out there working really hard, you're going to get a really hearty meal at the end of the day, or for lunch, or whatever you want to do. And then the last thing I think that maybe sets us apart is there's an altruism to our brand and to our product. And that altruism is we want to put wild things back in wild places, and we want to conserve and we want to improve wild places. So we put our money where our mouth is. We spent a significant amount of money just before we sold the first stick of coffee or the first bag of freeze-dried food by replacing the entire sheep relocation budget for the state of Arizona. Wow. So we relocated 80 bighorn sheep, desert bighorn and bighorn sheep in Arizona, and they've become from 80, they're now over 500. Okay. So, real boots on the ground. We participated with the catch nets and helicopters and taking blood and samples. And so it's not about just sending our money somewhere and hoping it's put to good use. It's really participating. And what's been really cool is our customers come with us when we do it. We invite everyone. And
wait, so you're in the helicopter, like chasing down the bighorn sheep, and you're basically wrangling them, like you yourself?
You use a catch net. It's a big boom gun and a catch net. And one of the things I was sort of concerned about, like, well, how it looks kind of violent, if I'm being honest with you. And obviously we're working with state agencies. So in that instance, it was the biologist from the state of Arizona's Game and Fish. And they said, Jeff, you'll be amazed at how calm they are. And I was blown away. Okay. We get them caught, we fly them really quickly, we monitor their temperatures, and it was a really neat experience. We just fell in love with that process, and I gained a new appreciation, I'll say, for the hard work that Game and Fish does to support our wild places and wild creatures. Yeah.
No, that is okay. But just to clarify, so you're shooting a gun and it shoots a net out, and you're the one that's doing that?
No, I didn't shoot the net. No, they probably would have let me. Okay. If I'm being honest, they were super inclusive. But that one was just one of those ones where I just was like, you know what? I think I'll carry them. I'll help draw blood.
Yeah,
I'll do those things.
I want to shoot the net gun.
Well, if you want to do it, the next time we do one, I'll reach out, and you're more than welcome.
But you're saying that you're inviting customers to do this. So some of your customers that are buying your food, you're like, why don't you come and grab some sheep with us, or whatever the project is.
That's correct. Well, our next project that we're doing now is in Montana, which is where we're from, Bozeman.
Right.
And it's the Gallatin River. There's a spawning. Can I go into a little detail?
Yeah.
Okay. So, again, a new appreciation for what goes into biology at the state level. They've developed a test on trout where they take a core sample right in the front of the fish's snout, nose, whatever that is, and from that core sample, they know exactly which tributary water that fish spawned in. And it's all based on, what kind of mineral deposits and chemical makeup is in that sample. And so they figured out that this raised creek was really the pivotal spawning tributary for the Gallatin River. And and they also realized is that it was increasing in temperature because of all the bank erosion, and so that slows the water down and makes it heat up, and it sort of defeats the ability for the fish to spawn in it. So we're going to spend about $150,000 over 3 years, and we're going to be boots on the ground in dredging, creating new wetlands, all of the makeup to put this raised creek back to what it was originally.
Wow.
And it'll have a profound effect on the fishery.
Right.
And again, it's one place that we can do something, and what we're trying to do is grow a brand that has a mission to make a difference. We want to leave it better than we found it, whether that's sheep in Arizona, fish, trout in Montana. I see it as a worldwide movement, because what we've noticed is that the people that come out and help us do it are activated in a way that most brands don't understand.
Right.
Because if you're an outdoors person and you love to be outside, you also feel that sense of stewardship, that you want to make it as good as you can, and you want to leave it to the next generation as well, in as good a shape as we can possibly do it. But what if we were actually able to make it better than we found it? How cool is that? And we can do it if we're producing a product, a consumable that's far superior to its competition. We're not asking them to sacrifice. We're asking them to come along for the ride, and we get to do this whole thing together. I think if everybody does a little, nobody does a lot, and we're trying to do our part.
Yeah. Okay. So I like that your missions are very specific, and you have plans, and like it sounds like you're going project to project to try to improve the outdoors. So thank you for doing that.
Yeah, well, thank you. Thank you for noticing. It's hard. There's so much noise out there.
Right.
And what I'm about to say is not a cut on any conservation organizations, but they have a staff.
Right.
And they have people, and they have overhead, and so they have to pay for all of that. And then whatever their mission is gets what's left.
Right.
So we don't charge anything for any of the work, any of the labor hours, any of the travel expenses. It's literally all goes right to the boots on the ground.
Okay.
One of the next projects that I want to do is actually going to be a trail improvement project. We live in Bozeman, which is not so far from the CDT or the Continental Divide Trail.
Right.
And I own a lodge in the Bob Marshall Wilderness.
Okay.
It's an Orvis Lodge, and the CDT passes very close to it.
Right.
I know what kind of pressures the National Forest Service is under from a budget perspective, and their trail crews are undermanned, underhumaned. I should say it that way. So we want to do something with them next, because it's not just about huntable populations or fishable populations. It's about the great outdoors and making it better. Right. And I think we can coalesce around that. No matter what your orientation is in the outdoors, we all just want to see it be as good as it can be.
Okay. Well, thank you again. Circling back, though, to the food, you mentioned that you have an executive chef. I think you were talking yesterday, it was like a Michelin star chef, right?
Yeah, he's a 2-star Michelin chef.
2-star Michelin chef making the freeze-dried food for Wild Society.
Isn't that kind of crazy? Well, the other thing is our coffee, we actually hired the world's foremost sommelier of coffee to develop our roasting techniques, which beans that we're sourcing. And so it goes back to what I had said originally, is we don't want you to feel like you're compromising if you use our product. We want you to say, hey, this is tip of the mountain, tip of the spear, top of the mountain stuff. It's really, really good. And then the next thing is we have to make sure it's price competitive. So, and then when you throw in that sort of multiplying effect that we're giving 20% to conservation, you go, well, why are you doing this?
Right.
Well, the truth of the matter is it's a for-profit company that I've been blessed in life. We've had some great success.
Right.
And so what I want to show is that it's possible. My wife and I did this very same approach in the sober living home world.
Okay.
We operate sober living homes all up and down the East Coast of the United States.
Wow.
It's a for-profit business, but we've helped over 50,000 people achieve sobriety with a business that's self-sustaining.
Right.
And so if we can do the same thing in conservation that we're working and doing in treatment, that's cool. It's a cool life, right?
It is a cool life, yeah. So it sounds like you have a business model that's successful, and now you're applying it to kind of the outdoor industry.
That's right, my passion.
All right, so getting down to the nitty gritty though, can you give us like your most popular flavors you got going on?
So we have 3 flavors of coffee,
Okay.
and so we have a Colombian black,
Okay.
and it's delicious if you like black coffee. There's some people do and some people don't, and we also have a honey coffee.
Okay.
And shockingly, that one is our most popular.
Okay.
By hands, it's not even close.
When you say coffee, it's just the instant, like you like a
It's
pour in.
it's a stick, like a
a Via. Like
yeah, you would like that would be a great comparative. It's very much like a Starbucks Via.
All right.
And kudos to them; they do a good job.
Okay.
We think ours tastes better. That's all.
Right.
And but that's to each person's tongue, right? But ours drives real change. And if you like our coffee and don't have to compromise on taste, then great. We can do two. You can accomplish 2 things.
Okay.
And we also have a mocha caramel, which is also really wonderful. And I think the reason we sell so much honey is that everybody out there likes a fluffy bunny when they're having coffee in the morning to some degree, right? That yummy like wake up.
Right.
The macho man has a hard time like reaching for the mocha caramel because it is delicious. But yeah, we sell a lot of honey coffee. It's really and we're gonna. I have an apiary. I'm a bee person as well. It's just one of those distractions from real life.
Right.
And but the bees need help too. And if we can create. If we create commerce around it, it creates an economic value. When you have an economic value, you have interest from people.
Right.
So by creating demand for honey, we're giving incentive to people to go out there and do their part to help the bees.
Yeah.
I know it sounds kind of weird, but it's really something that we're excited about it.
Okay. And coffee is definitely like a big time part of the backpacking world. But in terms of the meals you got, like top meals, what do we got?
This is a tough one because you guys spend a lot of time eating food out of a bag too, and I do as well, right? So
it doesn't sound so nice, but yes, we do that and we like it.
Yeah, right. It feels so good too. Like
at the end of a hard day. Yeah.
It is. Everyone says like, if you had one meal left, what would it be? I would say this: it would be after 20 days on the trail.
Okay.
And I'm really hungry, and it would probably be our penny alla vodka.
Okay.
It probably would be.
That's not what I was thinking. Like it'd be the pad thai or the stroganoff or
If I've had the penny alla vodka for 14 of the 20 days, I can promise you it wouldn't be the penny alla vodka,
okay,
right?
Enough.
But if today, sitting here right now, having not eaten one in a few weeks, that one just really resonates.
Okay.
And for some reason, it reconstitutes so well that there's almost it's hard to tell the difference between the stuff that comes out of the oven.
Oh, really?
And the stuff that comes out of that bag.
Okay.
So its reconstitution quality is amazing. Now, chicken tamales, we have Rosa making our chicken tamales.
Okay.
Right? So they're really good. Yeah.
Okay.
And that was our chef actually brought her to us and said
Okay.
this is the person. So they're really good too. And they're so different than you don't get to see that. Chicken pad thai, beef bulgogi. These are things that are so different. That it's kind of nice sometimes to just get something completely off the realm.
Right.
Because we all do like biscuits and gravy and a breakfast skillet and a beef stroganoff, and those are pretty common. And you can get tired if you do a lot of what you guys do and what we do, you can get tired of the same thing all the time. So they're kind of a nice outlet as well.
Gotcha. All right, got one last question. I'm going to have Mike ask because I've been dominating over here.
You have. You've taken every single one of my questions that I wanted to ask.
We need to know where we can find the Wild Society food and coffee.
Okay, we can try that out.
Ask him that.
All right, so delicious sounding food. The coffee's excellent. You gave me some yesterday. I really enjoyed it. So where can our listeners find all of your products? So
we are here at Outdoor Retailer to find new retail outlets because what we want to see it is everywhere, right? Today, that's not the case. I want to make this message clear, though, to anybody who's a retailer. Our products have very good margins built in. So please make a difference. Come help us do it. In lieu of that, you can buy it on our site at wildsocietycoffee.com or wildsociettyoutdoors.com.
Okay.
And I'm going to put a discount code together for you guys to give your listeners some additional incentive to come on and give us a try.
All right.
And you guys can put that maybe in the notes of your podcast or something, but we'll make one specific for you guys.
Absolutely. We appreciate that.
Yeah.
Our listeners, we love freeze-dried foods. It's like one of our top conversations. So getting a new brand out there that's by a 2-star Michelin chef and Rosa, man, I'm all for that.
And there is one recipe in there that my daughter did, and it's our macaroni and chili. And I'll call it macaroni and chili because everybody knows what chili mac is. And everyone's like, oh, man, that stuff, it's really hard on me.
Not the chili mac.
Yeah. Ours is different because there's no instant. The instant noodles that most of our competitors use, they have a cardboard taste no matter what you do. That's why they put so much sodium in their food. But it also has a corresponding effect on and the beans that they're using. So you'll find ours to be a very pleasant experience, very cheesy, yummy, good. My daughter makes this. It's one of our family traditions, and it's really good. I'd recommend it as well. Give it a try.
All right. The issue is not that it doesn't taste good typically. The issue is the gas that comes after
That's
in the tent. That's the issue
well
we have.
said.
Yeah. All right, Jeff, thanks so much for joining the show. We really appreciate it, and thanks for all you do for the outdoors.
Hey, thank you guys. Thank you for giving us an opportunity to talk to your folks. We really appreciate it. And if there's ever anything we can do to support your mission, please reach out.
Thank you. So they also do like a Via style coffee as well. We referenced that in the interview.
Yeah.
And I'm not a coffee person, but I know that those are really popular. And Tupperware Mike liked the coffee, and he was not blowing smoke. He was very. There's things he liked that I didn't, and vice versa.
Okay.
So here's my question for you though. He tells a story about how they're trying to support wild like fish and game, all that stuff. And so they went and they tried to move a herd of bighorn sheep, and they had people shooting the sheep with those little rope guns to capture them.
Rope guns. That's nice.
Yeah, they shoot the rope. You've seen them in like movies where kind of captures the bad guys. Would you want to shoot a rope gun at a bighorn sheep, Derek?
I don't really have a desire to. I think I'd rather shoot it at you or maybe like more of like a predator. Like what did the bighorn sheep do to me? I feel like it's some kind of predator. If I had it just in like a holster and I could shoot it like at a mountain lion, that would be pretty sweet.
Okay, like the mountain lion's coming after you. You're trying to escape, and you shoot it and capture it.
You shoot it, you rope it. He's struggling, and you're like, and then you run away.
Okay, so maybe that could be one of their like kind of altruistic endeavors in the future, is to try to kind of move a mountain lion population, and then you can go along for that one.
Yeah, I'll be on that. Yeah, I'll mow with it. Yeah.
All right, fair enough. So I haven't, full disclosure, I haven't tried the Wild Society food yet. We're actually bringing out a backpacking trip we're going on this weekend, so we're gonna circle back and hopefully do like a full review on like a 2-star Michelin chef freeze-dried food. Like it has to be great, right?
I want to hear about this, because if it is good, I might buy myself a little.
Okay.
You know what that is. Yeah.
Sure. All right. Next up we had Spot, the GPS locator beacon company.
Yeah.
And I kind of asked some pointed questions. I actually had to edit this one down because there's some things that came out that he didn't want to discuss. But we're going to discuss it after the interview.
Really?
So here's how we're down. I've got David Woodard here from the famous GPS company Spot. How's it going today, sir?
Doing well, thank you.
Yeah, thanks for coming on the show. Really appreciate it. All right, so Spot, you got 3 devices, and you've got them. For those that are watching on YouTube, you can see that you got 3 devices here. Can you give us a rundown? What you got?
Sure. So in the Spot family of devices, as you said, we offer 3 total devices, 2 of which are satellite text messengers, and 1 is a basic tracker. So the tracker, the smallest one here, the Spot Trace, most popularly used for high-value asset tracking like vehicles and other personal property. So if it does go missing, get stolen, you'll receive a notification and you can follow it on a live map and hopefully recover it. The 2 messengers, we have a Spot Gen 4 and the Spot X. The Gen 4 is a one-way satellite messenger in which you'll pre-program some text messages on your account before you go out on a trip for one-button push access for checking in, or in the extreme emergency, hit SOS for immediate rescue.
Okay.
And the Spot X, in a 2-way messenger platform, you can text out and receive custom messages while you're in the field. same purpose for checking in, let people know that you're okay, or call for help in that emergency situation.
Gotcha. Okay, so I got to ask, with the tracker, let's say like you just lose the tracker. Can you find it for me?
As long as it's on, yeah.
Okay, so it has to be on. All right.
Yes.
All right. So, all right. I think the regular retail price for the middle one, that's the messaging one, you said that was $150, but it's currently, you got like a summer sale going on. Or
Yes.
People can find it for about $100.
Yeah, there is a summer promo going on through Labor Day.
Okay.
And that's available directly through us at findmespot.com or some of our other key retail partners like REI, Sportsman's Warehouse, West Marine, Bass Pro Cabela's, just to name a few.
Gotcha. All right. So Spot has one of the more affordable devices on the market if you compare to, say, like the Garmin and the Zoleo.
Absolutely.
However, they're still expensive. Like, especially if you're talking like full price, $150 for the device is still expensive. And so they buy the device, and then you employ sort of like a form of a subscription model, which is pretty standard across the industry.
Yep.
Where if either you're paying month to month, or you're paying an upfront, month-to-month fee where you're only paying, let's say for 3 months, plus whatever the monthly costs are, which are typically more than the full year costs. So I think I did some math, and by the end of it, I think after a year, the subscription costs with the upfront fee are going to equal or surpass the device cost itself.
Potentially. It's ultimately going to depend on the duration, like you said, in need. If it's going to be for 1 month or 3 months or 6 months. It depends.
Okay.
So using Gen 4 as an example, you can do either an annual plan at $12 a month for 12 months, or the month-to-month option is $15 per month that you want it active.
Right.
So 2 months worth of use is only $30 of service fee.
Plus the $30 to...
There is, annually there is what we call a flex charge. That's what enables you to turn it on and off at incremental times throughout the year without incurring an additional activation fee every time you got to do that.
Right.
So it allows that flexibility.
4 months with the flex charge, we're talking like $90-ish right there. If I'm doing my math correctly. Okay. Yeah. So I'm just wondering, I guess, so I'm seeing these devices, and like, I get it. Like, they're lifesavers. They're your security blanket when you're out on the trail. I totally get it. But we're also moving towards like the phones starting to have some of these same features here.
Sure.
And so with such an expensive fee, like, are we going to see these fees coming down? Are we going to see Spot moving more towards an app-based program? Are we going to have like the battle of the apps for the phones? Or, I guess I'm looking at the future here. What's the future?
Well, I mean, unfortunately, I don't have a crystal ball. So I can't say for certain, what direction that type of market is going to go to.
Okay.
All I could speak to is, where everything is right now, in that, some phones have that capability, but we still are extremely relevant in that space to be able to send non-emergency messages. For the purpose of checking in with loved ones in those areas where you don't have cell phone reception.
Oh, for sure. Like, you're still ahead of the curve, like 100%. I'm just looking down the road and kind of seeing where the trend is, and I'm just imagining at some point we'll just be on our phones being able to kind of text from wherever.
Sure. I mean, a lot of things are getting integrated more and more into phones. I mean, why do we even call it a phone anymore when we don't even use it to make phone calls?
Right.
So,
I still call people. I do.
So future's wide open, and how things get integrated remains to be seen.
Okay, fair enough. Generally speaking, from your experience, if you compare Spot to Garmin to Zoleo to whatever other companies are out there, how reliable is your network compared to other networks?
I mean, we pretty much all fall in the same line of reliability. I think location ultimately dictates that as well, by the nature of the satellite networks. Because, full transparency, we don't really have coverage in the poles, but we also don't have a whole lot of users going to Antarctica.
Right.
And
like canyons and that kind of thing.
Absolutely.
Stuff. Yeah.
Well, I mean, the nature of satellite devices, and this will translate across all, brands and devices in this space, is you do ultimately or ideally need a clear view of sky.
Okay.
So if you're in a deep canyon, classic example would be like hiking through Zion, where you have a very limited space.
Right.
Whether you have a Garmin, Zoleo, or Spot, you know, you can have mixed results getting it out. It doesn't mean that it won't work, but it may take a little extra time to get that signal over there.
Right.
You know, because there are dozens of satellites up there. They're whipping overhead hundreds of miles per hour.
Okay.
And so fortunately, that's where the benefit of using a text messenger versus a satellite phone comes into play.
Right.
Because it does not take a lot of energy or time to send these small batch data of an SMS text message versus a constant link of a voice required device like a phone.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
All right. So you've been around for years.
Yep.
Okay. I mean, I can't remember the first time I saw you like in Backpacker magazine advertising. So this has been a company that's been around for years. Surely you have a good story, like a survival story where somebody used the device to save their life, or they're in an odd situation or a weird spot.
Sure.
Okay, you got one for us?
Yeah, I do actually. The first one that comes to mind, and this, first, on our website, we do have a rescue page that is loaded with a ton of different stories across different experiences, whether it be aviation, hiking, hunting, offshore, you name it.
We'll probably be on that page pretty soon. Just
yeah.
FYI.
But one particular story that I got firsthand from a Spot user was at another trade show last summer. And this was in Oshkosh, Wisconsin. It's EAA. It's a very big aviation trade show. So we have a lot of pilots that use our devices, for personal aircraft use. This particular pilot came by to thank us for, use of his device because he did have to activate SOS one time. He was flying somewhere over the ocean. I don't remember which one, but his plane went down, and he was
in the middle of the ocean.
Middle of the ocean.
Okay.
So he was sinking. He was in very serious trouble.
Yeah.
He activated SOS on his Spot X, and that relayed to a nearby freight ship, whoever was in the area, to pick him up. And then he was transferred to a U.S. Navy battleship, or I think it was a destroyer. And then he learned while he was on there, recouping, kind of getting back into a positive headspace, that they're in the middle of filming Top Gun 2 on that destroyer.
Oh my gosh.
Thankfully, he's alive, but he also got a really funny, positive experience out of it. So I thought that was a fun story.
Was he like, do you have a cameo as like an extra in the movie?
No. From what he heard, Tom Cruise was not on the boat that day.
Okay.
But, they informed him, that's why there was a bunch of crew there and doing their thing.
That is
so
hilarious.
they were filming the movie at the time.
That's not where I thought you were going to say he had access to classified information, and then the Russians came after him, but yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, it didn't happen
Right.
that way.
No,
a little different ending.
I just thought it was entertaining, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
That is very entertaining. All right, I love that.
Yeah.
Man, so much appreciate you coming on the show. Thank you for all the information, and appreciate
My
your time.
pleasure.
All
Yeah,
right.
thank you very much for having me.
Yeah. So I kind of in a roundabout sort of way was bringing up the pricing on the devices plus the plans and all that stuff.
Right.
This
is good.
Yeah, I didn't really get pointed with him, but do you think that these GPS companies are price gouging their customers?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm gonna say yes.
Spot's cheaper in terms of the device, but even on silver, we're still talking $100.
It's
right?
still $100.
Yeah.
Unless you're I don't know. It just feels like a gouge. Maybe not a big gouge, but I think, could it be lower? Yeah, I think it could be lower.
Yeah, I think when they charge you just to start the subscription service on a month-to-month basis, and every single company does that, I just think that they're just they're.
That's where I feel like they make the most, though. For sure.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Because you do that year after year. I think that they should. I don't know. We're gonna do an episode on this where I think that they should employ some sort of a loss leader strategy where they're, maybe making the devices cheap and accessible, and then you kind of use them as you go, and so that way it's more accessible to people. But the people that really use them, maybe you just up the cost of the monthly service fee, and they kind of make it on the back end. Did you have any other reactions to that interview?
I'm glad you asked about the whole cell phones taking over everything in the future situation.
Right.
But he avoided you, and that makes me just think he's threatened by it, because I think all the companies are secretly threatened by it.
So Zoleo, Garmin, and then Spot. I don't think they have answers for this. I think that they probably have ideas, and so I'm going to give you. I'm going to give you my consulting services spot. I'm going to give you 5 of my best ideas for how you can pivot and still stay in business and viable as a company once the cell phones take over.
Wow.
Basically what you do. I'm going to give you my 5 best ideas.
Wow.
And I'm going to charge you 5 Snickers energy bars. That's it.
5 Snickers candy bars. Why would you do that? That's crazy.
So I've got legit ideas, and yeah, you'd think like, okay, well, what would like some podcaster know about, company stuff like this and that? But I've learned over the years that there's a lot of companies that really don't know what they're doing.
Wow.
I'm not
Yeah.
saying Spot's one of them. I'm just saying I got 5 good ideas. You can have them.
Listen,
5 energy bars.
Spot. This is Carl Mandrioli. Okay, Spot. Like, give him a chance. Send him a little, product and get the real deal.
Just like a
He's gonna-
package of energy bars. Yeah.
What's the big deal? Just give him a little Snickers candy bar box of 12, and he'll call it even.
You're upping it to 12. I was just saying 5. So
You can share.
Yeah, I think that they're concerned. I don't know that they have an idea or a plan. And then I don't know if you know this, but they actually use something called the Global Star Network for their.
I've heard of that. Yeah.
Yeah, and Apple uses the same one.
Yep.
And so you can kind of see that Apple's just going to simply be using it, right?
I mean, they're sending you. It's a matter of time.
Right.
Matter of time.
It's a
How
matter
much
of time.
time? What was your order? Is your prediction been changed since your last?
Well, it was faster. Just getting the SOS feature was faster than what I had initially said. But I think it's got to be within a year, right, where you can just start texting from wherever.
You think so? I might go like 3. Might go like 3.
No, I think it's they're
You
already
think it's sooner?
they're already using the network, man. It's just a matter of time before they come up with the app and all that stuff.
Well,
And then
so
they'll come
long.
up with some sort of fee or whatever. And so anyway.
Yep.
But one thing that I asked about too was about the reliability of that Global Star Network as compared with the other devices, and he said kind of like that it holds up. And I haven't tried the Spot, and I actually wanted to try one and pair that with this interview. And they said they were going to send me like a tester loaner or whatever, and they didn't do that.
Yeah, right.
And so yeah, I've heard that that it doesn't hold up. It's not as reliable as like say the Garmin.
See, that's what's so tough about a company like that, because you can't give a sample out, right? You're just I'm taking what you
didn't.
They just, but I'm taking a majority of it is like what you're saying to me, and it's a hard sell.
Yeah,
that's my
yeah.
I don't know.
Okay,
that's what I think.
Anyway, so that was a fun conversation though, and there's a fun story that came out of that. But let's move on to the next one. This is a company I hadn't heard of before. It's called Grand Trunk. All right, I've got Paul Acey here from Grand Trunk. How's it going today, sir?
Oh, very good, thank you.
Yeah, thanks for coming on the show. All right, so what's Grand Trunk? Like, what backpacking products do you sell?
Yeah, Grand Trunk, so we sell chairs, stools, hammocks, ground covers, a lot of that kind of stuff. Specific to the backpacking world, probably our Compass 360 stool is probably the top backpacking product we have, or our Nano hammock is one of the lightest hammocks on the market. Maybe the lightest. I don't know everybody else's details, but it's under half a pound, so it's a very light hammock. Really great for the backpacking scene. And then our Evolution hammock is a combination sleeping bag hammock all in one, which is also gained some ground in the backpacking world as well.
Awesome. Okay, so you have the 360. That's like the swivel. The 360 is swiveling. Stool. And yeah, I tried that out. Super comfortable for sure. But so what kind of drew me to Grand Trunk is like the chairs. Like I like having a good backpacking chair on a trip. And your chairs looked a little bit different. So you have, let's see, you had one that's like low to the ground. It doesn't have like the 4 prongs sticking in the ground, but it has a higher back than the ones I've seen. What's that one called?
Yeah,
again?
that's the Mayfly chair.
Okay.
So our chairs were originally. Some of your listeners, maybe yourself, will remember the brand A-Light Designs. They were the first brand to make a collapsible backpacking chair.
Oh, okay.
Now there's a whole bunch of those on the market.
Right.
A-Light Designs went out of business a few years ago, and about 2 years ago, Grand Trunk bought the patents and the branding for all of A-Light to bring their chairs back.
Okay.
And so we brought back the Mayfly, the Monarch, and the Mantis. The Mantis is kind of that traditional 4-legged, prong feet, whatever you want to call them, chair. The Mayfly is the low profile with that front leg, a little bit higher back, like you said. As I spoke with the original designers of the product, they were all about the outdoors doesn't have to be epic. Can it just be fun? And so that's kind of where these chairs came in was, they're lightweight. You can easily take them wherever you need to go, but they're also really comfortable so you can hang out, have a drink, have a nice time. It doesn't always have to be, I'm hardcore, so I sit on a rock.
Right. I will say that I am that guy some of the time. It depends on the trip for sure.
Yeah.
So, the one that I tried out was definitely like low to the ground, so a little bit harder to get into. But once you're in, I'm like, okay, I'm staying in the chair for a while.
Yep.
Super comfortable.
Really good. It's awesome for those kind of trips. It's really great beach chair. People love it for festivals as well.
Okay.
You can't take in your big chair.
Right.
But you can take in a little chair. So
fair enough.
And it's probably the most comfortable one of those little packable chairs for sure.
And speaking, so you have something that you guys actually call a chair. I would disagree. The two-legged chair. You guys make the darn two-legged chair.
The two-legged chair. So the Monarch chair, is one of the original A-Light designs. So you can find it online. A-Light by Grand Trunk Monarch. Okay. That's the two-legged. Your legs are going to be the front legs of the chair.
Right.
What's the first thing you do when you sit down in a camp chair?
I relax my legs so they're not flexed.
You relax your legs by leaning back and rocking backwards. So everybody's doing it anyway, so why do we need the front leg?
Because I don't want to flex my muscles when I'm tired.
So you were unwilling to sit in it. Had you sat in it, you would have understood that it doesn't take anything to hold yourself up.
Okay, so
it's a very comfortable chair, very similar to the Mayfly chair that you sat in and enjoyed. It just doesn't have that front leg on the bar. But you didn't use your legs any less in the Mayfly than you would in the Monarch.
Okay, so what Paul's referring to is that he asked me to test it out, and I said I am unwilling to sit in that non-chair there, and I sat in another one, and I really like the other one, but the two-legged chair, as we've discussed in our podcast, Derek's all in. I'm not in on the two-legged chair. I'm sorry, man.
Carl, we need. I'm going to send you one.
Okay.
And you're going to look at it every day. And you're going to go, I hate this thing. And then one day you're going to be like, nobody's here. I might as well try it.
Okay.
And then you're going to be like, you're going to come on air and you're going to say, I'm sorry.
Okay.
I'm sorry. That is the best chair ever made as long as you've had 2 or fewer beers.
Okay. Fair enough.
Third beer, you got to be careful. You might tip over.
I'm not a beer drinker, but I know what you're saying.
Okay.
I will rescind everything I just said if you consistently are somebody who sits in the two-legged chair. Are you that guy? Are you that? Awkward pause.
I mean, I sit in it occasionally.
Okay.
It's very low to the ground, and I am not the smallest guy around.
Okay.
So I'll just say that.
It's selling, so obviously there's a market for it. So I'm not trying to take the market away. I'm just saying I would just call it something different. I would call it like a partial stool or something.
Yeah. There's not a better chair for uneven surfaces or sitting on a hill.
Okay.
If you're on a little bit of an incline, you try to use one of those four-legged chairs, you're gonna have issues. That guy, you can sit basically anywhere, and that's what's cool about it. So
right, that's a good response. I like that. All right, I'm not the hammock guy. Mike is. So Mike, what thoughts do you have on the hammocks?
All right, so I have to come clean with you. When I first saw your brand, I wasn't exactly sold. I thought it was kind of I don't want to compare you to Coleman, but something comparable to Coleman. And then I got one of your hammocks in a subscription box, and I really like the darn thing, man. You guys make some pretty darn good products.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. So when I was over there, you guys showed me the
Evolution hammock.
The Evolution hammock. So I've been pricing quilts and top quilt, bottom quilt, right? They're super expensive. You guys have an 11-foot hammock design with a top quilt and down quilt. $650 filled down, good down to 20 degrees. Now I want to know who's taking it down to 20 degrees, and I want to talk to them.
So I've slept in it in about 20 degrees.
Have you? All right.
Have not. I run hot. And it's very hard to do the testing on a bag that hangs in the sky, right? Sleeping bag testing is bags that you lay on the ground. Yeah. You've got the insulated pad, all of that. Right. So the testing was difficult for sure. But 20 degrees, I think, is very, very doable. We've had, one of our ambassadors has used it in 0 degrees. They dress very warm inside of it, but they haven't had any problems. So I'm confident that at 20 degrees you'd be fine. We're based in Salt Lake City, Utah, and so our mountains stay pretty chilly year round. So even in the summertime, a 20-degree bag is no big deal for sleeping. And it's got the zipper's a 2-way zip, so you can vent it at the bottom. So if it gets a little warm, then you're good there. The worst part about sleeping in a hammock is that your back gets cold. It's hard to stay warm. Yeah. And the integrated underquilt stays where you want it to. Many when you're using an external underquilt, it slides, it bunches up. It just it's not always the best experience ever. I don't ever want to sleep in a different hammock again than this one. Cool. Our Trunk Tech hammocks are awesome, great for hanging out. Yeah. If you're gonna sleep in your hammock, Evolution hammock, for sure.
Nice. I look forward to trying it out. So I kind of comped it out. You guys are running at 4.2 or 4 pounds 2 ounces. Is that what it was?
Yeah, right around there.
So if you add it up, my tent's 2.5, and then my sleeping bag's probably a pound or two, sleeping pad. So it's running about the same weight and taking about the same amount of space. So I'm looking forward to trying it out. It's I noticed you guys had a couple other hammocks out there. I do not like the 9 foot. I mean, that thing is just horrible. I don't care who you are, unless you're hanging out in the woods just for a picnic or something. But you got a couple 11s. You said you have one that's under a pound.
Yeah, the nano hammock. It's going to be one of those shorter hammocks.
The shorter hammock,
but
okay.
It's 0.45 pounds, so under half a pound, barely. But if I worked in the bike world for a long time. We called those guys weight weenies. If you are a weight weenie, that is your hammock.
Okay, so that would be a good day pack, or a day hammock and a day pack. You can go up in the trails, up in the river, just hang out for a little while. So I'm not a little guy either. So is that nano hammock gonna hold me up, or am I gonna need to worry about that?
I think you'll be fine. I believe it's rated right around 300 pounds. And then our straps are rated at 400.
Okay.
So, I'm not quite at that level, but, I haven't had any problems with it. So I've used the nano a couple times. But like I said, if I'm going to sleep, I'm going Evolution.
Yeah,
so,
for sure.
But it's a great hammock. We've had, last summer, we had a couple thru hikers use it for their whole trip, and they were stoked. So... Really great product.
Well, we're really looking forward to you getting some of those products and testing them out. And I think you really changed my mind on your brand. So I'm really
awesome.
glad that we stopped by and saw you, man.
Yeah, thank you for coming by. We've really enjoyed the show. A lot of good positive energy. Absolutely. And always fun showing people products.
All right, so what'd you think about that?
I mean, I still think for the pod, you should have sat in the 2-legged chair. I don't know why you're so defiant. But it's not a chair. I get.
You didn't video me sitting in chairs. Like, is that engaging? Like, watch this chair.
This is where
watch this one.
This is where if I'm there, I'm gonna pressure you to do it and make you do it, because I think it would be hilarious and it would have been good for everyone.
I would have needed to be incentivized. You'd have had to give me like a Snickers.
That's not a problem. That's not a problem. I can give you a couple Snickers candy bars.
Nobody was incentivizing me. They weren't like, well, and really,
they don't know how you operate. They don't know how you operate. That's why I need to be there.
People operate. People want to like we want you in the chair. What if we give you the 2-legged chair if you sit there? I would not have done it. So I'd been like, no, this is nonsense. Get out of here.
Look, the chair people just don't know you the way I do. And that's
it was, but they made some comfy chairs. The one that I liked was really low to the ground. It was super comfy, but at the end of the day, it is kind of hard to get up and down in like a low to the ground chair, kind of almost like, the chair kit with your pad. Comfy once you're down there, but once you're down there, you're staying down there for a while.
Yeah, you don't want to get up and down. It's a lot more work. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, so if you're looking for chairs, different styles, higher backs, more comfort, check out Grand Trunk. Next one we've got is a company that is like surprised me with how well thought out their answers were, because I really didn't know what to expect. This was Pickle Juice.
They threw you off.
Yeah.
Did they throw you off with their wonderful answer? Okay. This is good.
All right, I've got Philip here from Pickle Juice. How's it going today, sir?
It's going great. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, happy to have you on. All right, so when we saw that you were going to be the show, the first thing that I thought of was, like, you're selling pickle juice shots. They're in that kind of the size bottle of like a 5-hour energy.
Mm-hmm.
Why can't I just simply like buy a jar of pickles for $3 and just like pour the juice or the brine into my own shots and save some cash that way?
Well, other than helping me pay my bills,
which is my primary focus.
Right, obviously.
Right.
No, all kidding aside, so Pickle Juice is a trade name, like Band-Aid, Xerox, Kleenex, Thermos.
Yep.
And it has nothing to do with pickles. We call it that because we use a proprietary grain of acetic acid that blocks the nerve receptors that cause cramping. Just so happens that makes it taste like pickles. So we figured, well, we could either call it what it tastes like or call it what it does. But if I hand you a bottle of Cramp Stopper 9000, you'd probably say it was like some kind of, like, I don't know, snake oil or whatever, and wouldn't take it. So, we use it to kind of make it normal. It is 100% natural, USDA organic certified, no sugar, no caffeine. So we wanted something that was approachable. But now that we've gotten kind of well known enough, that confusion occurs. So it's completely different from pickled brine.
But it has some of the same ingredients though, right?
It does. So it has the acetic acid or vinegar. We use a very specific type of vinegar that actually actuates the nerve receptors, and also we load it with electrolytes, particularly sodium. As you and your listeners know, that's the thing you're going to deplete the most when you're exerting. So we're replacing your sodium. So it's kind of a 1-2 punch. And it turns out that combination of functional ingredients made it taste a little bit like pickles. So we're like, all right, let's just lean into this. We needed an emulsifier to get the ingredients to play nice together, and used dill oil to do it, and got pretty close to pickle brine.
Okay.
In flavor only.
So you're talking about the dill. So I've always heard that bananas relieve cramps also from the potassium aspect. Probably. Did you guys try out banana flavor first, or
well, yeah. So it's not really about the flavor, right? The flavor's a side effect. But yeah, you know, when you talk to anybody about cramping, you get you talk to 10 people, you get 12 answers, right? Eat a banana, stretch, hydrate. You know, the joke is I tell people well, the whole banana thing's propagated by Big Banana, only because it's fun to pretend there's Big Banana. Then I found out that's an actual thing.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, your listeners can look it up. That's a rabbit hole worth going down. It's weird, but anyway, because kiwi fruit has more potassium. That's the whole thing I was getting at. But there's 12 different triggers that cause this neural reflex, and the neural reflex is actually what's causing the cramp. And it could be dehydration. It could be an electrolyte deficiency. Sodium, magnesium, potassium are the most common. Very rarely is it the magnesium or the potassium. You're gonna have sodium issues most of the time before anything else. And there's a few other triggers. There's circulatory issues. People get nighttime leg cramps. Oftentimes that's circulatory. People who are wearing their pack too tight might feel numbing in their arm or hips or whatever, because their circulatory system's compromised. So those are all just different triggers, and we're treating the actual cause. So it'll get rid of the cramp in 60 to 120 seconds.
So that's interesting. That brings me to a follow-up question. You said that it's an inhibitor. So our body's telling us to stop doing something, and I want to listen to my body. So is it dangerous, or just keep going after I take the cramping?
Yeah, it's not dangerous. What it is your body's attempting to correct a signal. And a muscle cramp is nothing more than a hyper-engagement of your muscle. So, you know, when you flex your bicep, you have to release your tricep, right? So anytime you engage muscle, you have to disengage the corresponding opposite muscle. So picture that on a microbiological level. And that's why you get that twinging before. I get my right calf cramps every 60th mile of every bike race, it seems. But so you get that little twinging, and then the cramp comes, you know it's coming, right? So that twinging is just your brain trying to affect a massage from the inside out. So it's extension, flex, extension, flex, extension, flex, and then the release signal can't keep up with the engaged signal. So we block that signal completely, sort of resets it, then we flood the area with sodium to draw the other nutrients to that area. So it's kind of a 1-2 punch. So we're not, the cramp is sort of more like a misfire than a warning.
Good. Well, I was a little skeptical when Carl wanted to come and talk to you guys, but I cramp all the time. I'm getting to that age, so I'm glad I came over.
Yeah, it's not an age thing. I've struggled with cramps for years. So there's you mentioned that there's a lot of companies that say or give reasons why you're cramping, and there's 12 different reasons, and I've heard that for sure. So based upon your experience, I'm out on the trail, I'm cramping. You mentioned that it's going to, it's kind of a quick fix, essentially. What percentage of people are you seeing this actually work for immediately?
It's interesting you asked that question, and great timing. We're actually going to the National Athletic Trainers Association show here in a week or so, and we just did another study in Stirling University in the UK and had 100% efficacy with the UK national swim team. So they were going into cramp staging, and 100% of the test subjects that were cramping experienced relief when using it properly.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I know 100% that I am going to have some cramps this summer as I continue to train. So I'm going to try it out, and we'll see how it goes. Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you, Phil, for coming on our show. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, y'all.
Okay, so this is what the pickle juice looks like. If for those that are on YouTube, it's like a little shot, like a 5-hour energy shot. This is like a spicy chili lime flavored one.
Ooh.
And so they said it's fast acting to prevent cramps. I know, Derek, that's not a problem for you. You don't have muscle cramps.
I don't.
You're more like a muscle, just weakness in general, right?
Incorrect.
Okay.
Incorrect.
Debatable.
Wow.
So, okay, so this is not a product for you is this a product that, or do you believe the claims? I guess is my question.
I do. And not that I've even tried it, but I'm going to explain why I think I do, because I've actually done a lot of, I don't know, like done my homework on a lot of like health and fitness stuff over the past couple of years that we've mentioned on the podcast. And a big one was actually like a lot of athletes, professional, will drink pickle juice for muscle recovery. So I was like, oh, that's weird. I didn't think people actually like, and I was Googling, is there any benefit to this? And a lot of people seem to claim that it helps the muscles. So
and people legit drink like the pickle juice brine.
Yeah.
And as he described, it wasn't really like that. It just has that flavor, but they use like the key ingredients in the brine that's supposed to like trigger the neural sensors, whatever the sciencey stuff he was saying.
So you're excited for this one then?
Yeah, I'm gonna start packing. I mean, I've been training this summer for the big FKT up in August, and so I'm gonna be packing it, and I'll probably have that on the FKT as well. Just
that's good. That's a good idea. What kind of flavors are we talking about? Do they have chocolate, blueberry?
Chocolate pickle juice.
Yeah, like what's going on? Like how do they make it taste good? Because it's probably disgusting.
I think they have two. They only had two there. They had the chili lime, and they had just like regular pickle juice.
That's okay. Well, we got areas of improvement right there. There you go.
Okay, what flavor? What's the next one they should have?
Popcorn, number one.
Black licorice.
How about a cinnamon?
If
muffin?
they're adding the pickle flavor just to kind of be on brand, they could remove the pickle flavor and add like these Jelly Belly flavors, like the ones you're suggesting.
We'll just call it Jolly Juice and be done with it.
Jolly Juice. I like it.
It's not that hard, people. It's not that hard.
And Philip, the guy that I interviewed, like he was such a friendly guy. I would say like he's like my number one seed for like guy I would most likely be friends with after interviewing. So thank you for being friendly. Yeah.
Wow.
Yep.
I don't
the feeling's probably not mutual, but that's just my
big shoes to fill for that guy. Let me tell you. Good show.
Big shoes to fill for Philip. I like that.
That's not what I meant, but you took it that way. Nice show.
All right. We got one more. We got a bunch more, but we're gonna save that for an episode down the road. And we've got, like I mentioned, we've got the bonus episode coming up on Patreon with some fun ones. But we had a surprise guest, a guest that was on our show a couple months ago. Somebody you tried to offend out the gate, and he still was willing to come back on the show. This is Steven from My Life Outdoors.
My man.
All right. Hey, look who I found. Steven from My Life Outdoors. How's it going, man?
Hey, I'm doing good. How are you?
Good. I'm excited to meet you in person. This is great.
For real.
So you came up on a recent episode referencing the interview you had, I think it was like, I don't know, a month and a half ago or something like that? 2 months ago?
Something like that.
So you're telling your story about the Ranger. Remember that story?
I do.
Just repeated everything you said. Was incredulous.
Okay.
Apparently, at some point during your story, I inappropriately interrupted you, and one of the people who listened to our show was like seriously offended by that. I think her name was Linda, and she's like, "How dare you?" Basically. And
so I was in the middle of a story.
Yeah, I know.
A very important story.
I tried to share that when we have guests on, sometimes like I could say like, "Hey, how's it going?" and they can talk for 20 minutes, and so we have to strategically interrupt. But you were not one of those types of guests.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it is your show, and it's not my show.
Right.
So I mean, it's all about you, and it's not about me.
It is about you. When we have you on, it's about you.
Okay.
But you're socially appropriate, so I should not have interrupted you. So I would like to officially apologize for interrupting you.
Apology accepted. I don't even remember you interrupting
That's
me.
what I thought. See?
Yeah.
See? Okay.
Yeah. So what was I talking about? I mean, I was talking about the story, obviously, but what point of the story was I?
She didn't get that specific.
I'm going to have to go back. I'm going to have to go back and listen to the story again and see where you interrupted me.
It might have been more than one time.
I might be offended once I go back and rewatch, but as of right now, I'm good.
You're good. Okay, so we're still on good terms. He was willing to come back on the show, so we're obviously on good terms. All right, so I chatted with you briefly, and I was asking you like what some of your takeaways from the Outdoor Retailer show were, and so, what did you say about that?
So I said that so far I'm mostly disappointed just because there's a bunch of stuff that I'm not personally interested in, nor do I think that my audience is going to be interested in. But one of the things that I was strangely interested in that I think most people would find a disappointment was the new fork and spoon and knife set from Jetboil. And so they've got a telescoping cutlery. Is that how you say it? Cutlery set. Yeah. So and the reason why I'm excited about this specifically is because I hate spoons. Right. But everybody makes like the long-handled titanium spoons for getting into the bottom of the boiler bag meals.
And sporks. Give them some credit.
And sporks. That's right. But it's not the prongs of a fork that I like. It's the shape of the fork, because I don't like the way that my mouth has to conform to the shape of the spoon.
Right.
You know, because you got to to get everything out of the spoon, you got to like shove your lips like down into the bowl of the spoon, and it's just, I don't know, it's unnatural to me.
It takes effort, burns some calories for sure.
Yeah.
And when he first said that, I thought he was talking about just like backpacking and digging into the, the freeze-dried meal bags. He's talking about like in general. In general, you don't.
Oh
like
yeah,
spoons.
like everything in life. Like
Okay.
if I can eat with a fork, I will. It drives my wife crazy, because the only thing that I will not eat with a fork is very thin soups. I will
Okay.
still, like if it's a thick, chunky soup, I'll still use a fork. So very thin soups and cereal. That's the
Okay.
only thing that I will use a spoon for.
Theoretically, you could just like pour a soup into like a mug and like drink out of it and drink your soup if you really wanted
You
to.
could, and I might actually prefer that, but I would worry. I mean, because you gotta, sometimes soups are so hot, you gotta kind of like blow on it a little bit, right? So you need that smaller quantity of liquid, so it can
Right.
cool off faster, so you can, so you can eat it.
Okay.
And so if I was just like, gulping down a soup in a I don't know, like a coffee mug or something like that, I think I'd burn myself.
Okay.
Yeah.
And speaking of that, like, have you gotten soup caught in your beard before?
Specifically soup? I mean,
Yeah.
probably.
Okay.
I mean, I get stuff caught in there all the time, like small animals and stuff
Okay,
like
we
that.
can play this game. Like, what was caught in your beard? I can start guessing. Let's go with lint. I'm sure lint is probably a common one, right?
Yes,
Blankets?
yeah, I'm sure. I might have some lint in there right now, for all I know. But so yeah, I'm sure the lint has been in there.
Have you ever combed your beard and then forgot that you were combing it and then walked away and the comb was still in your beard?
No, I mean, so if you look, I mean, this is very thick and curly, and so it doesn't comb very well. I
So
mean,
brush.
Yeah, so I mean, like if I'm like combing or brushing it, like I'm yanking hair out of my face, and so it's not very pleasant.
Gotcha.
And so it just kind of exists the way that it does. I will comb it out about once a month to like trim it a little bit. And so, and that's, you gotta kind of, I mean, because otherwise
Takes
it's
some
just,
effort. Yeah, goes forever.
I mean, I look homeless already, but then I start to really look homeless if I don't do something about it at least once a month.
That's hilarious.
But
All right.
true story, the strangest thing I've ever found in my beard was a live spider. We were on a camping trip. We were in the Smoky Mountain National Park.
Yeah.
And I was hiking with my family, and my wife looks over, and a spider dropped down like on a web out of my beard. And my wife goes, "Oh my gosh, you got a spider hanging from your beard." And I go, "What?" And as soon as I turned, it like zipped back up in there. And for all I know, it's still in there to this day.
Oh my gosh! You didn't like try to get it out.
I mean, yeah,
afterwards.
like I tried to, like do this kind of thing,
Yeah.
but I never found him.
Okay.
Or her. I don't know that it was a him.
Right.
Spider.
That's hilarious.
So, so for all I know, and then I joke sometimes that this actually isn't hair; it's just spider legs. Just
Oh my goodness!
thousands and thousands of spider legs
That's-
just living on my face.
That grosses out your wife, I'm sure.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to point out at this time that he shared the whole spider story, no interruptions, right there, straight up.
I don't know. I'm gonna have to go back and listen to the tape.
All right, let's go back to the JetBoil cutlery real quick, because when you said that you were disappointed in the show, like you were disappointed in some of the companies, honestly, JetBoil was the first one that came to mind because of their cutlery. I'm like, you're releasing something new? What is it? Cutlery, like the forks and spoons. And I've seen some of the telescoping stuff before with some of the really cheap companies. So yeah, I just wasn't super impressed. But you know what? That's just my take. I'm glad that you're liking that. They did say that they're going to be releasing something new in August, but they weren't even willing to talk about what category it was, let alone like specifically what it was. Did they tell you that?
Oh no, they didn't tell me that. Like
Okay.
they had to go check with someone to see if I could even talk about the spoon and the fork. They were like,
my gosh.
let's approve this with corporate before you start videoing things. That's not what they said, but it was something like that.
Yeah, the secretiveness that was disappointing for me for sure. Is there anything new that's coming out, or a company that was it besides JetBoil, I guess, that caught your eye, or a company maybe you hadn't heard of before? I don't know.
Nothing I haven't heard. Well, I mean, I found like an interesting pair of underwear recently.
Okay.
It's got like a hammock in it. It kind of cups the
stuff.
Yeah. Can you say balls on the podcast?
You just did. You just said it.
Well, I was like,
Okay.
I'm just gonna go for it. So
Okay.
it kind of cups the balls. I haven't worn them personally yet, but
Okay.
I saw them and I was like, well, that's interesting. I want to try that out.
All right.
And so, but seriously, like in all seriousness, I am impressed. Even though I am not a trekking pole person, I am impressed with the Comperdell titanium trekking poles.
Okay.
Those look really neat. I like the Z folding trekking poles, but I don't like that those aren't adjustable. And
Okay.
so they have an adjustable Z folding titanium trekking pole that's brand new. I think it's coming out later this year. And I was interested in that, even though I'm not going to carry trekking poles, but I can see the value in it.
That's nice of you. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that we're on different pages here. So
Yeah.
your
Well, so
experiences-
you tell me. What did you find that was interesting?
Well, you probably just are more in tune with some of the companies. So like we saw, there's a company called Faye, I think it's called. So they make
kind of like entry level gear, tents, like stuff that's not like the ultralight, but it's, you know, for somebody who's new in backpacking, like I found that to be interesting. They have a chair that's like 1.1 pounds, but it's only at $44. So I don't know if it's like the same qualities you're gonna find.
Did
with
you
the
say
Helinox.
1.1 or 1.4?
1.1.
1.1. That's not bad.
No, I know. That's what I'm saying.
For $40.
Yeah, $44 plus tax, I imagine. But yeah, and so just companies like that, and then there's I don't know, like another freeze dried company called, what was it called? Wild Society. Like,
yeah,
maybe
we did
you guys
see
have heard
that.
of it. Okay, I hadn't heard of them before, so
Yeah.
Anyway, stuff like that. It's kind of fun for me.
Yeah, I'm interested in some of that stuff, and so, but I specifically was thinking, you know, like brand new stuff that brands are coming out with.
Oh, right.
That it's not currently on the market that people don't know about. So.
Oh, now you're challenging me.
Yeah.
I'm not used to people asking me questions. I'm the question asker.
Yeah, well, I mean, I was worried that if I was, you know, answering something, you might interrupt me. So.
I'll come back to you on that one. But man, thanks so much for being on the show and being willing to sit down. Really appreciate your time, man.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Okay, so Steven wasn't super impressed with the Outdoor Retailer Show. It doesn't sound like he's going to come back. A lot of the big companies weren't there, like you know, the Ospreys and the Cedar Summits and the Patagonias and stuff.
They're already making money.
He was excited about cutlery, man. Like this, like
cutlery.
Yeah, are you excited about the forks and the spoons and all that stuff?
No. I mean, I guess unless you, no. Just gonna say no. Like if you're doing more cooking of like more gourmet stuff, maybe you're bringing the pan on the trail and you're cooking the stuff. I don't know. Then maybe.
Okay.
Maybe I get more into that. But no. I mean, we're just like about the long spoony fork thing, that call it a day. But I mean, people really like their food.
Fork thing.
Spork, whatever.
Yeah.
People really like their food. So I can't say that I wouldn't ever want to try that. I mean, if you're bringing more gourmet stuff, then yeah, I can see the value.
All right. Well, I really enjoyed, we actually talked for a long time. I really enjoyed hanging out with him. He's a great guy. And he always makes great videos, informational videos on YouTube.
He's fun.
He's a lot of fun. And we just didn't agree on like what's awesome at the show. I was saying that the fork and the spoon from Jetboil, like, whoa, that was their big release. I'm not impressed. So
yeah, and he was psyched.
And he was excited, although he was, you know, comparing that to like other companies that weren't releasing things that he was, he didn't have the same experience. Like he wasn't as excited about this stuff because of the lack of companies that were there.
Yeah. Well,
so that's all right. We did start calling him Spiderbeard after the interview. So I don't know if that's going to stick as a trail name, but Spiderbeard I thought was pretty cool.
That's a good name.
Yeah.
That's a good name. I like that one.
All right, so we don't have trivia. It's a long episode, man, because with a lot of interviews, we're gonna come back to trivia and kind of have like one each for the finale before our backpacking trip.
Okay.
But I've got some tidbits you might be interested in coming up right after this.
Ooh.
Tidbits are brought to you by Vaucluse Gear. Do you have a sweat problem? When your clothes get wet, your core temperature can dramatically fluctuate. This can cause hypothermia, heat exhaustion, dehydration, and of course, embarrassment. Vaucluse's ultralight ventilation backpack frame solves this problem. Install it on your favorite pack to create a ventilating airflow gap. Check out this ultralight game changer at vauclusegear.com and use code blisters for $5 off. Thank you, Vaucluse.
Nice.
Yeah. So on our Backpacking Blisters website, by the way, I have like kind of, I don't know how to describe this. I guess merch. Like we have some shirts that are now available.
Merch, baby.
Merch. I don't even think you knew about this. And so check it out. We got our website and our show description. So check it out if you're interested. It's with our newer logo from the season. It's taken us a long time. I felt weird putting like our old logo on like a shirt where like you and I are on it. What do you think?
I kind of like the old logo. I got a picture of it in my house.
No, but would you wear a shirt of yourself? That's kind of weird.
I wouldn't. I think it's better for us to have the new logo. But
yeah.
You know, I don't know. I mean, give people the option. Why not give them the option? But
because it's more work. That's why.
It is more work, and you don't like work. I get that. Lazy friends, guys.
Maybe
don't
help
pick
out a
lazy
little
friends.
bit, Derek. Maybe ship in.
Don't pick lazy friends. That's
maybe go to the Outdoor Retailer Show. Just saying.
Yeah. Okay.
Actually, on the contrary of what I just said, we had a reaction to our last episode, our top 6 ranked things. This is Nick from Nick's Backcountry Adventures. He's got a YouTube channel. He says, did Derek just crawl out of his sleeping bag before recording the episode? Carl, you need to step up your show and tell game up to Derek's level.
Legend.
Do you remember like how you had to show and tell stuff?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, I had the pickle juice. So I don't know if that counts.
You know what that's called there? It's called appreciation.
Yeah.
And I know you're not used to that, but you're welcome. You're
Yeah.
welcome. And
I mean-
I hope to do more of it.
Yeah,
so.
Nick, thanks for calling me. I appreciate that. Derek clearly prepares a lot more than I do. He puts a lot more work into this.
I'm
than
glad
I do.
you mentioned that.
I apologize.
It was a simple episode, probably the easiest episode of all time to just have some examples.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, I usually get the notes for the shows about an hour before each show, and I pulled that off. So I don't know what Carl was doing.
Well, you could make the notes. How about be the creator?
Did you get stuck in the bathroom? What happened?
Okay. Another tip is kind of tying it back to the Steven My Life Outdoors interview. I did apologize to him for interrupting him on his storytelling the first time.
So rude.
You remember that Linda called us out on that?
Yes, I
And
do, Linda. Thank you for calling it out.
typically when we get called out on stuff like Nick just did, when we get called out, they for whatever reason, that means like they just stop listening. So Linda, are you still out there?
No, Linda's here.
Okay.
Linda, this is me. This is Derek talking to you, not Carl, the interrupter. Okay. If you're still listening, send us a little shout out. Just let us know. Send us a little shout out.
And speaking of shout out, we got Celeste from New York. She had a crazy 4-day stretch on a trail. I forget the name of the trail, but she had days of 21, 23, 27, and 23 miles for an epic long trail adventure.
Wow.
She's like a young grandmother, but she's putting in like triple the miles you put in, Derek. Triple.
Wow. What injury did she get, and how is she treating it? That's insane.
Zero injuries. Just
Zero
a
injuries?
super fit woman, and we're impressed, Celeste. So thank you for sharing your adventures.
Let me pick my jaw up off the floor. I mean, that's ridiculous.
She's on Strava. That's kind of how I was able.
You
to
haven't
track
even walked
her.
that far in your whole life, probably. Like, is that how
Me?
does? Yeah, like
You're
the whole
off-brand
year
here, man.
combined.
This is
The whole year combined.
yeah. You're wrong.
Other than the grocery store at the way to backpack, probably.
That's true. Actually,
Well
that's
done. I mean, that's
Yeah.
impressive. Jeez.
all right, my friend. That's all I got.
That's all I got, guys. Guys, it's always a pleasure. Hope you enjoyed the interview. We got more stuff to come. Check us out at Backpacking Blisters Podcast and all the social media handles. And if you need a dual-legged chair, don't give it to Carl. He's probably going to rip it off and have a mono chair. He loves pogo sticks and mono. I don't know what that's about, but that's the kind of friend I hang out with. See ya.
I want to fly.